What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and in this video I'm going to talk about the challenge I'm taking part in for March from Conan's EDC, as well as recapping last month's challenge at the end of the video from True Budget EDC and prepping. So the challenge rules for this month from Conan's EDC, and I'll tag him down in the description so you can check out the channel, and also link to the challenge video in case you want to take part in it. But the challenge was to carry something you don't ordinarily carry for whatever amount of time you want to carry it for, a couple weeks. I'm doing it for March, but you can do it for 2 weeks. You can do it for a year if you want to. But I went with the Altoid tin. So I've always been kind of fascinated with building out these Altoid tin kits, but never actually carry them. I don't do anything with them. They just get built and sit in a drawer for no reason. And so I wanted to challenge myself to build an EDC-able Altoid kit that I actually carry. And so I'm starting with this tin and the loadout inside, which I'll go over in just a minute. But starting with this, but the loadout may change and even the container may change. The challenge is just to carry an Altoid tin style tin for the month of March, regardless of what I end up putting inside. So at the end of recap, I'll show the contents that I ended up with, and it may change throughout the month. It may even be multiple where I grab different tins different days. But starting with this tin, I may switch to something like this, which is from CountyCom and has an organizer from CountyCom as well inside. These are just Altoid tins that are a little bit thicker walled, so they're a little bit stronger. And then this tray is actually removable. It's just kind of like a silicone or something like that. And have some other options as well, something like this, which I think is from Tinkerforce. Has these kind of slide out organizers and you can adjust them to different sizes. I think you can also get this one with Velcro outside, or you can also just stick your own Velcro on the outside if you want. But another good option. May go with something a little bit bigger, if that makes sense. I don't anticipate carrying something this size in my pocket, but maybe if it's going in a bag or in my car, something like that, that might work. But may do something a little bit bigger like this. This is, I think, 125% of the original size, if I remember correctly. And may also do a couple different carry options, so something like this, which clips to your belt and slides in and out. Or maybe try to make a paracord one or get a leather one made. I don't know, we'll see. But the challenge itself is just a tin and seeing how it evolves. So I'll start with the tin itself. This one is the same CountyCom tin you saw here, but I actually had it Cerakoted by Goon Coating. I'll link to him down in the description as well. I would 100% recommend Goon Coating. I would also not recommend Cerakoting your Altoid tin because it's prohibitively expensive. I would guess, I didn't calculate the content prices inside, but I would guess that I spent more on the tin and customization than I did on the content itself. But I'm not fiscally responsible and would not recommend doing that. But it came out amazing. It looks really cool and it's just kind of fun. Had the idea to do it a while ago and just couldn't resist sending it in even after hearing the price. And so I'm not going to say the price because I know it was also a pain to get the stencil and do the hinges and stuff like that for him. So want to give him the opportunity to quote a price that's high enough that he thinks someone won't do it, but if they do, he'd be happy to do it, and maybe he's fine with the price he did. But in any event, I don't want to put his price out there because it was a custom job and every job is going to be a little bit different. But this is Cerakoting, has my logo on the outside and is green inside for a little bit more higher visibility. And the way I have it currently loaded out, doesn't quite snap to shut, but it does stay shut. But I may also add some Ranger bands. I'm not going to put any items on the outside, but I may put a Ranger band to hold them shut if it's a loadout like this. This one would be pretty easy to get to shut, and you'll see why in just a second when I open it up. But inside, I have just a cleaning cloth. This is a small one that came with the Pete's Pirate knife that keeps everything from rattling around, and also just nice to have on you in case you need to wipe something down. But this is really what's keeping it from closing, is I decided to add some small 1" by 1" loop panels so I can put a couple Ranger eyes in there, but those are keeping it from closing. So if I remove those, even with the loop panel still there, it will close all the way. And so just kind of thought that was fun. So my guess is that eventually I'm going to move away from this specific tin into a more traditional kind of Altoids tin without Velcro inside, or maybe put the Velcro on the outside. But to start out, I have this. You can see it's got this nice kind of green coating inside for a little bit more visibility. And I built this out mostly for EDC purposes, but I realized as I was building it that some of the stuff is more kind of survival based, and my guess is by the end of the month it's going to be mostly EDC based. And I'm also going to take into account things like this pen, which I have in here, super minimal, kind of just pushes and you can click it. It's a weird off-brand that I got off of Amazon. I think it says Minimo. And so I'll link to that if it's still available, but just kind of a small, simple pen. I may find that I'd prefer a normal size pen and carry it outside of the Altoid tin and just decide that, hey, I don't need a pen in my Altoid tin, or I may decide it's a nice kind of backup. So we'll kind of see how it goes, but the real idea behind this is to see what gets used and replace what doesn't. And my guess is most of the survival stuff probably won't get used, and I already have some ideas of things that I'd probably want to put in here that are more likely to get used, so it'll definitely change throughout the month. But moving on, I have this little glow marker. Don't know why, it's just kind of a round glow marker. I believe these also came from CountyCom, although I'm not 100% positive, and these do need to be charged, and so it's just kind of a good thing to just an added light source, I guess, so you don't have to use your flashlight the entire time, which I did include a flashlight, which also may change. This is the Olight Eye Mini, and it works on a magnet. So as soon as you remove it from the magnet, lights up. As soon as you put it back on, it goes back off. I don't think it's super bright. It's probably something like 10 lumens if I had to guess. But the reason I'm probably gonna replace it is just I don't love the magnet. It gets stuck to stuff and everything sticks to it, and so just probably will replace it with something non-magnetic. So you can see that right when I set it down, it's stuck to that pen, so I'm going to move it a little bit further out of the way. But we'll probably try and keep a flashlight in here. I usually carry a larger flashlight in my fifth pocket or just kind of in a pouch, but we'll see how that goes. Then I did have this little tritium from Glow Rhino. It has a small glass breaker on the end and just kind of a light that doesn't need to be charged, doesn't take batteries, and should last for about 25 years. Another thing that might just make more sense to put on the keychain rather than be in the tin itself. Then I wanted to put a pry bar. This is the Leatherman 9. There's a bunch of different variations of these. I don't know if this is still made because I bought it on clearance from Leatherman's website, and they had a bunch of them on clearance. I'm guessing they were discontinuing them, but I actually don't know that for certain. One of the tips is more pry than the other. This kind of short stubby one is more of a screwdriver. It doesn't have that pry tip, and then it has kind of some little areas that you can use as a wrench, obviously very specific sizes, and a bottle opener, so a little bit more versatile than a just straight pry bar, which is why I went with this one. Next up is an item that goes with the items in the tin. So this is an old item from CountyCom. They don't make it anymore. I would guess that it would be pretty easy to 3D print. I'd like to get a 3D printer and try it out at some point, but this is a bit driver, and so I didn't put a bit extender in here, which may be something that, again, changes throughout the month. But this tin is just kind of a little slide off. You kind of push and slide. And I have some bits inside of here. There's also a little fire tinder that's mainly there to keep the bits from rattling as much, so it keeps the entire kit just a little bit quieter. Probably could have done the same thing with magnets, but decided to just temporarily throw something in there to keep them from rattling. But just put bits that I thought I'd use more often, so have a T6 and a T8, as well as kind of a smaller and larger flathead and Phillips head screwdriver. So have a couple options there. We'll see as the month goes on if I feel like I should replace the bits, but most likely I will keep some sort of bit and bit driver in here. This one definitely, I should show the way it works, I guess. It definitely works better with an extender, so I'll probably throw an extender in here at some point, but you can just throw it directly onto the bit itself. It's a little bit tight of a fit, but there we go. I don't go in the wrong way. One side has a little bit of a lip, but this side, so you can just put it in there and it works as a very tiny bit driver, but you get a decent amount of leverage. It's hard in tight spaces without the extender, which is why I'll probably throw an extender in there, but then you can just pull them out and put in whatever bit you want to use, and they store separately, pretty flat. It's not super thick. So I have a few of those, but they don't sell them. They haven't sold them on CountyCom for years, but really cool little bit drivers. Next up, I have the Leatherman Micro. This is a scissor-based tool, and always liked scissor-based multi-tools, so it seemed like a good fit. I started with the Gerber splice, I believe it is, but that one's a little bit thicker. It was taking up too much room, so this one shuts down to the most compact of any of these scissor-based multi-tools that I have, so that's why this one ended up in the kit. But again, that may change if I decide that I'd rather just carry a full-size multi-tool and not have one in the Altoids tin. This is another one that's a little bit more survival based, most likely going to disappear and be replaced with some other fire option. But basically this has flint inside, and you can kind of remove this to add more, but you can just throw sparks with it. And so it's not a real lighter, there's no fuel source, which is why you want something like this if you were to light a fire. But since this is supposed to be more EDC based, my guess is this won't last till the end of the month, because most of the time when I need fire, I need it for lighting a candle or something like that, where I'm lighting something, not an actual campfire. So kind of a random throw in. It's pretty compact, which is why I included it, but again, I don't think it really fits this theme, which is why I think it'll probably get removed. But next up we have the TI sliver grippers. These were from Countycom as well. They're just a titanium tweezers with a nice kind of sharp point at the end, so good for removing splinters or just small, holding on to something small, picking something up small that you don't want to pick up with your hands or can't pick up with your hands because it's too small. And then a pair of Monkeys nail clippers, nothing crazy here. You've all probably seen them. They just kind of clip, and then you can slide this out of the way and close it, and it will sit in this really flat, small orientation. Anything that's still for sale, I'll link in the description. Some of the stuff I may not be able to find, and some of the stuff like the patches are a little bit limited. I think both, Maniac EDC's been re-releasing a lot of patches, so you may be able to find it. I'll link to their general website. The other all day, everyday carries from Data Crew, so I'll link to their general website, and if it's in stock, you can get it. If not, you can look at other ones. These are just little lock shims, so if you need to pick one of the little padlocks things, you can slide these in there past the one. These are for the ones that have like the rolling coated locks, not an actual lockpick. I didn't include any actual lockpicks in here. The only reason I did include them is because they're so flat. I don't anticipate that I'm gonna have any need to pick locks in the next month, but sometimes it's a good thing to have on you, I guess, and they don't take up really any space, so it didn't hurt to include them. Next up are just some kind of flat items. I'll try and pull them all out at once. But first is a Write in the Rain notebook. My guess is that I'll still continue to carry a more field notes, log and jotter size notebook or somewhere in between, but nice kind of backup. They're small and they're perforated, so you can just tear them out. And also you can write in the rain, which I don't really do, but still nice to have that option, or also just not have your paper be ruined if it gets wet. The container itself is not waterproof. Water does get in those hinges, so not waterproof. Then I have a magnifying glass, which isn't super powerful, but it works. It definitely helps with, just looking at the patch even. I'm not sure how well that picks up there. Yeah, it's picking up decently on camera. But if you need to read something small, these are meant, I think, for fire starters. I've never tried starting a fire with this type of magnifying glass. I have done it with a regular magnifying glass, but these ones may be more hard, especially at this time of year. It's raining right now. It's been overcast for weeks. And so more for just kind of seeing than fire starting. But right underneath that, I do have one of these little tinder cards from Grim Workshop. These are just basically this, a wax version of this flattened out, so you can kind of tear this and fray it up a little bit to use as tinder for starting a fire. But again, probably something that more survival than EDC. I highly doubt I get any use out of this in the next month, but it takes up pretty much no space and also acts as kind of a coat to kind of protect the inside of that a little bit. So nice to have, but nothing too crazy. I'll do an update video at some point. If it lasts longer than a month, it might be a little bit longer than a month, but I will do an update video at some point with what I ended up carrying and what this evolves into. If you're interested, definitely subscribe and check it out later, but that's what I'm starting with. Let me know what you think, what I should change. Again, more on an EDC basis than a survival basis. The one thing that really came to mind as I was getting ready to film this was I should throw some Band-Aids in there, maybe some kind of alcohol wipes, that sort of thing. A little bit of light first aid, because why not? Always good to have, but we'll see where it goes from there, but definitely open to suggestions. Now, going back to last month's challenge from Rich over at True Budget EDC and Prepping, his challenge was, and I have a video, I'll link to my video as well as his challenge video and tag his channel in the description, but his challenge was to carry one bag, one sling specifically, not just any bag, one sling, one wallet, and one pouch. And so I'll start with the kind of easier ones. The sling was probably the easiest of all. I don't carry a sling every single day, but when I did, this is already one of my favorites. I did the Vertex Dead Letter sling, and it's a smaller sling, fits my laptop or tablet. It holds a lot, has a lot of internal organization, and also has a little bit of a Velcro strip on the outside, which I like for ranger eyes and patches. And so that one was easy. I didn't carry a sling every day, but the days I did, always carried that one and had no problem. The next item, which was also relatively easy but had one limitation, was the Alpaca Arc card holder. And the small wallet carries 5 or 6 cards, has a small section in the middle for cash, and worked amazingly. There was one day where I felt like I could have used a bigger wallet, and that was CCKS. I did 2 knife shows this month, CCKS and Cal Knives, but CCKS I took all cash, and it didn't all fit in the wallet. And so I ended up just putting it in an envelope, folding the envelope in half, putting it in my front pocket, and that worked perfectly. Honestly, I spent most of it in the first hour of the show, so didn't have to carry it around that long, and yeah, it worked out. I really enjoyed the wallet. I'm probably gonna switch it up now just to check out some other wallets, but really happy with how that one worked out. I went with that one over the Up card holder V2, I think it was called, because it was a little bit bigger and had the option to carry some cash, which I did. And also ended up carrying like a credit card knife in there at one point. Not those like fold up origami ones, one from Mummert knives, but worked out really well. And then the last item was the Magpul Deca utility pouch, and it worked perfectly on days that I was carrying a sling. It's a larger pouch, and again, check out the original video if you want to see it. I'm not going to pull it all out because it's not all in arm's reach right now. But larger pouch, no Velcro or loop panel on the outside, but for the most part it worked. In any time I was carrying the sling, I used that pouch. But on the days that I didn't carry a sling, it got a little bit hard, and I definitely cheated a few different days. I carried the What a Slider a couple days which doesn't fit in a pocket, but it's kind of a nice hand size, and just a cool looking one, has a lot of space inside because it's thicker where your stuff's not riding together, and nice Velcro real estate on the outside, which isn't a deal breaker by any means, especially for the utility of the Deca utility pouch is really sitting inside the bag, so it doesn't matter if it has a loop panel. I also carried the Zero Feud soft wallet for a day or two, and not as a wallet though, as a pouch. And then lastly, the IKEA pouch I did a video on a while back. It was like a $1.50 pouch that I customized with a loop panel, and did a pouch meetup, wanted to carry something small, but also something kind of unique and different, meeting up with some local people in Southern California that are all into pouches, and so thought it would be fun to carry the IKEA pouch, carried it that day. So for the most part, I'd say 75% of the time I carried the pouch that I chose, but 25% of the time I wanted a different pouch. Or there was also days where I didn't carry a pouch at all because I only went to the grocery store or the post office and really went with minimal pocket space and carried a knife, a phone, keys, and a wallet. So I guess what I learned from the challenge, really liked the sling a lot. Obviously, I already knew that going in. It's one of my 2 favorite slings that I own. The wallet worked out pretty much perfectly unless you needed cash, which I don't carry cash that often, but for knife shows, I guess it makes sense. And then lastly, the pouch, what I learned was I don't think, had I chosen a smaller pouch that did fit in my pocket, I could switch from pocket to bag or carry in my hand, I probably still wouldn't have stuck to one pouch. So what I learned, I guess, is that I'm just not a one pouch person. I like switching them. I like having different loadouts and using kind of what I need that day. Inside the sling, the Deca utility pouch makes a great tech pouch. It makes a great regular pouch. So didn't have any negative thoughts on that, just don't think that I'm really a one pouch person, and that's okay. But overall, super happy to have participated in the challenge. It was a lot of fun. Excited about this month's challenge. Thank you to Conan's EDC, which is Easy Dad Carry, and Rich from True Budget EDC and Prepping for putting these together. A lot of fun. It's a little bit different than the normal videos I put out, and just really requires some thought and just planning going into it, which is a lot of fun. A lot of times I'm just doing product stuff, which I enjoy as well. And then the pouch stuff is a little bit of a mix of both, but really enjoy this type of stuff. And it's good to kind of familiarize yourself, especially like this one, with gear that you wouldn't normally carry. I like the idea of Altoid tins, but don't really actually carry them. So trying to figure out if there's any scenario where it does make sense for me to carry them, and maybe after the month I decide there really isn't, and that's okay too, but at least I'll really know for sure and giving it the old college try, I guess. But let me know what you think, either one, down in the comments below. Anything you want to comment. If you're participating in either challenge, feel free to comment that as well, or tag me in the videos, but make sure to tag the either Conan's EDC for the just kind of general challenge that he's doing on something you don't normally carry, or Rich over at True Budget EDC and Prepping for the one pouch, one wallet, one sling challenge, if you participate in either and make a video on it. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.